It's quite concerning when you said that now studies have shown that they're starting as early as, what, 8, 9 years old?
Yes.
Can you run us through the neurological process? What happens to the brain? What happens to the mind and the person? That child who from 8, 9 years old is looking at these images. I mean, you explained that you and I, we're from the back in, we were born in, we were back in the 80s,
yes.
and it was almost like a big struggle, a huge jihad
yes.
in a wrong way to get to these images. I do
yes.
remember
yes.
it was very hard to get
brown
to them.
Bag, the brown bag, we used to call it the era of the brown bag.
The era of the brown bag,
You put the stuff to hide it. Now you don't need to hide anything. It's all on your protected cell phones.
There's this little characteristic, or this abbreviation experts are using, AAA, which means accessibility,
affordability,
autonomy, and affordability.
Yes.
So no one knows who you are. You can access it very easily, and it's very
free.
affordable. We didn't have that in our time. And I'm curious to know, from your experience, a child growing up in this way, their brain is developing, and they're growing up on this, seeing images on average, what, a day? For example, by the time they're teenagers, thousands?
Fully addicted.
Weekly?
Fully addicted, yeah.
Tell us about what happens to the brain, Sheikh, and describe this addiction for us. Is it behavioral? Is it physical?
Okay.
Please go ahead.
So we need to define really addiction, because we need the viewers to understand the weight of the topic that we're talking about. There is a man by the name of Patrick Carnes. He's known to be one among the elite who spoke about these types of addictions, including sexual addictions in the past, in the 1980s. His name is Patrick Carnes. Mm-hmm. When he was asked about what is addiction, he said addiction is a brain disease. Addiction, any addiction, whether you're addicted to substance or to behavior, any addiction which you feel compelled doing it despite any negative consequences, this is already by definition is addiction. There was a study in Cambridge University, and the viewers, please go and verify all this information. There was a study that was done in Cambridge University. They scanned the brains of porn addicts. They scanned it, and they found that the prefrontal cortex of the brain have actually, on the long run, after consumption for several years, had shrunk to over 4+ inches of its actual size physically. So we're talking about physical changes in the brain as a result of addictions, leading to what? Lack of motivation, lack of memory retention, decision-making ability, all this. Lack of excitement about your own interest, and of course lack of spirituality, because I receive a lot of emails where brothers or ancestors who say that as soon as we say Allahu Akbar in the Salah, we see porn, the flashbacks. This is why now we understand the value of قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ. Look at the connection that Allah made 1,400 years ago. Tell to the believing men and women to lower their gaze. As a result, their private parts will be protected. Now, once you stare, that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, the lustful stare is an arrow from the arrows of shaitan.
Sheikh, can you talk a bit more about that part? So lowering your gaze to guard your private part. What does it mean to guard the private? Because people often say, so long as I don't commit zina, which is adultery or fornication, I'm okay. The ayah is not talking to me. Can you give us your...
Brilliant question, Sheikh Belal. Barakallah feek. Because addiction escalates. It does not remain at one level. So what you're looking at now on screens, and you feel like so excited and so pleasurable and so on and so forth, in a year time, it's never going to be the same. So you will escalate the doses by searching for more, until you reach to a point that you're no longer satisfied with pornography. You wanted the real thing now. Where are you going to go? If you're unmarried, where are you going to go? You start visiting, sex workers, prostitution houses.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Do you think that's...
There are many clients, Sheikhna, who, couples in particular, the sister will start the conversation that we haven't had any intimacy for the past 2-3 years because he's been, going to these places and he developed sexually transmitted diseases. Because it's very, very, logical thing logical conclusion to the behavior is that if you stray away from the halal and you desire the haram, Allah will take the halal away from you. Allah. And that's why lowering the gaze is one of the most important tips for recovery.
So, yani, meaning if a person lowers their gaze, you said that if they don't lower their gaze, it eventually leads them to wanting the real thing, whether married or non-married, because we always think that marriage is the solution, but apparently it's not.
If you are addicted already, marriage is not the solution.
Okay.
But marriage is a very, very helpful aid. If the partner knows about your issue and can be like your accountability partner, meaning she can monitor your devices, monitor your behavior, always be there to support you whenever you need her, and so on and so forth, can be a very, very good aid. So we encourage marriage, really, but it's not the solution to addiction. However, if you don't stare at that which is haram, growing up, you don't have anything to act out. You don't have any fantasy in your brain to act out in a haram manner. So